Hello Robloxians and welcome back to Roblox Zombies vs Humans, but in Fury Edition. Remember what I said in my last Airship Assault video? Like every other good war game, this game has lore. And now I ask you what this game has. Yes, lore! Now, if you join the Discord of Zombie vs Humans and you look down in the Community Central, you will see the guidelines. And in the guidelines, there's a link to the lore book. This link sends you to the fandom page of this game. And there we start our journey. Most of my informations come from this site, so feel free to look it up. Let's begin with the basics. Who is fighting who on this island? There are exactly 3 kingdoms and 1 cult. It will make sense, I swear to God. Kingdom of Robloxia, which is now known as the new Robloxian Order. We will find out why. Its capital is the Royal Plain. Their language is Robloxian, the species is humanoid, and the leadership is King Kelton Grey. And yes, it's a monarchy. The second in command is Steel, the Ironclad. We'll find out who he is in the future. And the currency is Robloxian dollar. This kingdom is known for having lots of resources, which was acquired from the different biomes it possesses, allowing it to grow huge cities and armies. The armies, most of it, consists of knights and partisans. The knights wearing full iron armor with a shield where the Robloxian insignia is on it, and the partisans wear only parts of this armor. The kingdom consists of 40 million citizens and is the only kingdom who has a aerial fleet, which is composed of 4 dreadnoughts. The KSS Castle Crusher, the KSS Dolores Dread, KSS Executor, the KSS Colossus, which has been declared missing in action. As I said, the army consists mostly of knights and partisans, but there are other branches like the apprentice who could be trained to become a watchman or a knight. Then we have the watchmen who are, watching, guarding. The knight who are the main infantry unit for the army. The brigadier, which is better than a knight and leads the knights into battle. And then there are the great knights, the best of the best. The contingents. The contingents is based off Caesar's legion from Fallout New Vegas, and of course the Roman Empire. The capital is Vici, language Latin, species is humanoid. The leadership is of course the Emperor Victor I. Second in command is Legate Cadmus, and the currencies is Obsidian Mint. They are obsessed with obsidian. They settle in various rocky and hard to reach areas, such as alpine mountains, volcanic fields, caves, rarely glaciers, and archipelagos. Their capital, Vici, serves as a colossal fortress of operations for the contingents. The contingents, also known as contingentia, is a kingdom with a small army when you compare them to the kingdom of Robloxia. Their population scales around 345,000. Every man in this kingdom serves the emperor as a soldier, or who is crippled, serves as miner who mines obsidian. And now to the army. Jesus Christ, is that a lot? Who came up with that? The grunt. A grunt is freshly recruited. Mostly they craft, carry the knight's or paladin's gear, or train to become better. Contingent knights. These are very low ranked units, which are only there for cannon fodder or reconnaissance missions. Those units will get the sleeveless obsidian armor. The Decurion is the commanding officer for these knights, which commands their reconnaissance missions or the battles on the battlefield. Oh boy, the Paladin. The Paladin is one of the most brutal units which the contingent has to offer. To even wear the Obsidian Hammer and the Obsidian Paladin armor, they need months of heavy training, and they will be selected right after a mission. After that, they need to fight in a Colosseum against contingent grunts as well as knights, and the last round and the last battle in this Colosseum is against a contingent war elephant. After that, they get this rank. Of course, many of those paladins do not survive this training. Sacerdos are priests, which are in the fields of medicine, combat, or engineering, never all three together. Nobody ever saw a face of these sacerdos, and some appear to hunch over most of the time. There are even myths that they are not even human. We don't know what they are. The legate himself operates directly as the emperor's second in command. After the last legate dies, another one is being picked. The current one is Legate Cadmus, who has a very close bond with the emperor. The emperor resides most of the time in Vichy on his cold throne, which is very uncomfortable. Sometimes he's not even eating or drinking for days, just to remind himself of the torment brought upon his troops every day and night. Emperor Victor I has a constant sense of revenge. Everyone in the contingents reverse and devotes their life's purpose to him. The sentence there is in Latin, so I don't even try to speak it out. I will just say the English translation. Where you turn, so the legions turn. Where you move, so they move. Where you strike, so they strike. Right without me, my son, and your armies will rise with you. Mars. And no, it's not the planet. Mars is the god of war. No, not Kratos. Mars had ruled over Grand Contingentia, a watchful guardian who always puts his people first. Long story short, Mars is a myth, but for the Contingentia people, he's not a myth, he was a real person. And there are some myths or stories that Mars is still alive. Mars was the one who always rallied soldiers of Grand Cotinia, and about Mars there are a lot of propaganda posters. The Centurion sarcophagus. You guys surely know Warhammer 40k. It's the same procedure a Space Marine will go through when he gets crippled in action. If you don't know Warhammer 40k, if a paladin gets crippled in a combat situation, their limbs will be amputated without anesthesia, all of his limbs, and he will be put into a armor sarcophagus where he gets the Sacerdos blessings, so the nerve endings connect with the brass-lined prosthetics, so he's a walking tank. That is the greatest honor anyone can receive. They are permanently fueled by rage against the ones who have impaired them. Now, how's the relationship between those both? It's a hate-love relationship, I would say. In the knight's description, it stands, or in some cases sent to the far reaches of the Order's borders with the contingents to keep them secure from any potential kidnappings or attacks. Now we know why it's called recruited. Once a kingdom fortress wanted to trade with the contingents because they were very deficit of carriages with the return of obsidian. The Legion declined it, and the Robloxian Order stole it. Already bad. Paladins invaded the fortress, killed every knight, every civilian who opposed them, threatened the commander to give back the carriages, and took his emerald armor as trophy. Reasonable crash out. Hey, he can be thankful that they left him alive. Legate Ambrosi died after a miscalculated catapult strike, so a new legate was chosen. It was Cadmus. And Cadmus demanded of several groups, which were run by paladins, contingent knights, to enter Robloxian territory, capture at least 50 Robloxian citizens, each to enlist in their own ranks and expand the military society. The same night, the contingent paladin was intercepted and arrested, but got broken out by a centurion who brutally massacred all the defenseless prison guards by himself. He returned the gear to the paladin, and they thought, hey, let's burn the village which is near the prison. These contingent forces left behind impaled watchmen and dead civilians, so the Robloxian knights can see them. As the sun rose at morning, they heard a rumble. Distant horns, sound like three. Confused, they looked outside of the camp and saw 3 airships speeding to them. High speed. They tried to run, but it was already too late. They died by 20 cannons, which simultaneously fired at them. They left nothing but red mist. The Robloxian Kingdom did this twice. In the second one, they surrounded this camp and they shot with the blimps down into that camp. And the knights surrounding the camp watched so nobody can leave or nobody can enter the camp. In, I say, the year 754, some calamity has struck the mortal world. During a deep mining expedition of the kingdom, a team of 6 miners ventured down deeper than anyone else. They made their way onto a bridge. The abyss yawned below. Suddenly, they noticed a figure of another miner staring at them. Up and down the other end of the bridge. Then it ran away. The miners ran after it. The bridge collapsed with the whole cave with it. Only 2 of 6 miners came back alive. The knights wanted to know what happened. Before they could speak, these creatures rose from the ground. And since then, these creatures have the name Ashen or zombies. The knights have fought against those hordes of creatures. The Ashen had been defeated on every possible front they had erupted from. Of course, the contingents, because of its spies, found out about these Ashen, and thousands were confused. Why are there zombies? And why do they only wield bombs? It's 3:45 a.m. A lighthouse keeper in the archipelago is currently tending to the light. The conscripts are fending off occasionally scraps of the Ashen. Surprisingly little combat today, the keeper writes in his notebook as he returns back to the light. Suddenly, a blinding flash comes from behind him. The lighthouse rumbles as he turns around. His eyes gazed upon an unfathomable disaster. The KSS Colossus has been shot down. Its horns blares extremely loudly and repeatedly as it begins to fall down, engulfed purely in flames. Hundreds of crew members jump into the depths and into the seas of the archipelago. Some manage to make it out, most don't. The keeper, shocked, immediately charges towards the nearby radio, flipping over every object in sight and picks up the radio handset.
They've hit the ammunition rack on board the KSS Colossus. The whole thing lit up like firework. This couldn't have been a coincidence.
The radio silent. Till...
Isn't it a bit too late for April Fools?
For God's sake, see for yourself.
The keeper drops the handset, grabbing his axe and beginning to row his boat towards the island. But suddenly, his lighthouse is demolished by a cannon and collapses violently onto the keeper. Several hours later, he's washed ashore. The echoes of war can be heard through Robloxia. Several warships have shelled the island to the point it's unrecognizable. The keeper tries to get out from under the rubble, but it's clearly too heavy. Footsteps emerge from behind him. He's unable to turn back. and screams for help. Order forces land on the archipelago, only to discover the keeper with a pickaxe puncture wound going directly through his frontal lobe. All the conscripts that once fought here are dead. Only fire, blood, and bone is left in the wake of the now destroyed KSS Colossus. Some crewmen were found, although all were declared dead. Remains of the KSS Colossus cannons were buried deep under the sea, with the perpetrator nowhere to be found. The idiocy, fatuity, and folly of humankind has doomed the entirety of Robloxia. The once contained Gravemind is now able to spread and go wherever it truly desires, spreading dreaded armies of unknown all across the continent. Fire rages across cities of the new Robloxian order. The citizens are staggered by all this sudden information. The tyrannical rule of the order can no longer hold all these people and has begun enlisting everyone it sees fit. Whether they are old or young does not matter. What matters now is they can don the seal of the order, as well as wield a weapon to fight for the sake of humanity back at the capital. The order has been left with no choice but to mobilize all of their existing brigades, battalions, squads, or whatever they may have under their sleeve. Several thousand knights march in different formations. Few turn, few proceed forward. The clatter of 1,000 shields and pikes is heard right across the order. The armies depart from capital gates and onto hundreds of transport ships, the rest into carriages. The city trumpets blare loudly as the new Robloxian order heads into war. The few remaining dreadnoughts hover over the capital and slowly begin to set out. Magnificent, aren't they? King Kelton Grey says to steal. Zombies vs. humans already exist since 2 years, and the 2 years are implemented into the lore. It's the year 754, that was the last year, and now we have the year 755. And from here we will begin. The Ashen Empire, also known as zombies. The Ashen Empire has no capital. Its language is part Robloxian sign, so it does sign language. The species are Ashen, aka zombies. Leadership is the Gravemind. The second in command is unknown, and the currencies is none. The Gravemind is inspired by the Halo Flood and the Minecraft mod Skullcord. It got the part from a Skullcord about infecting other blocks or other territories. And what is a Gravemind? In the Halo universe, a Gravemind is a massive intelligent flood entity that acts like a central brain. This Gravemind can make out of the ash zombies. And for the first time, my Halo experience is for something good. In the comic, a general was held captive by the Gravemind, and they fed from his memories experience, and that's so dangerous. The Gravemind learns from the dead soldiers. It's not consuming the dead soldiers, it's not making one of them, but it attaches itself to their brains and eats off their memories of the experience. And I can prove it. The Gravemind can only travel through the underground. That's what we see if we use the Gravedigger in the game. If we use the Gravedigger and dig a grave, zombies can spawn on this grave. And researchers found out, because of a gladiator, that the gladiator still has some kind of humanoid behavior, but still wanna destroy the humanity by any means necessary. So if the Gravemind somehow dies, these type of zombies, well, most of them, could be citizens of a society. During an afternoon, a cathedral of the monotheists were compromised. The informations were that 50 armed men were preaching in a abandoned cathedral to we don't know what. The bells of this cathedral rang at random hours, and those people prayed to cast the town back to ash. After a few hours, Robloxian watchmen as well as several knights blasted through this cathedral door. Hours later, nobody heard anything, so more watchmen were sent to investigate it, just to find out that they are all dead. 20 watchmen, 10 knights, they were stacked evenly next to the tabernacle with the words "Fear the Reaper" embedded into it. The locals were evacuated after that day. And with that, we introduce the last faction, the cultists, the monophists. Their capital are any cathedral next to the ashes. Their language is Robloxian, Latin, and sign language. All of them are humanoid. Leadership is the Asians, indirectly. The second in command is Perseus Auguste. And the currencies is Obsidian or Robloxian dollars. Yeah, the code can be out of citizens of the Kingdom of Robloxia and the contingents. Now, who is Steel Liturgia, aka Steel the Ironclad? Steel won many conflicts against the Asian Empire. He primarily fought them in the cold environments. He took total military leadership, of course, under the king's service. Steel even fought against several paladins outnumbered while they evacuated the Robloxian civilians. He killed all of them with his greatsword. After that, he became a great knight. After even more several battles, he got the rank of the second in command of the kingdom. He even led the attack on Mesa to destroy the zombie outbreak there, which he successfully did. So yeah, long story short, Steel is a unit. I hope my actions speak louder than words. Perseus puts back his pen and closes the diary. The cathedral organ plays calmly in the background. Steele investigates the note on the cathedral bench. It reads, "From your best, Perseus Auguste." Steele stares back at one of his acolytes. He knows all of them by heart. He sees one sprinting away. He tries to catch him, but he was too fast. Back at the Citadel, the yearly capital army march was about to begin. Steele, along with King Kelton Grey, were standing above thousands of Robloxian knights. As Steele swung his sword, the bliss of the moment quickly came to an end. Explosions erupted in downtown capital. Everybody's attention during the march quickly diverted to the giant explosion from within the city. The knights all rushed to the site and attempted to rescue. As that was going on, more explosives started erupting from under the knights, killing and injuring many. Steele and Kelton watched in horror as several knights began infighting, mainly those with oddly colored eye holes, as if they were green. The dreadnought had begun towering over the capital, blasting its horn constantly, with tens of its crew members staring down at the chaos below. As Steele's cape flailed in the wind, he hopped down to assist his knights in battle and witnessed one of them being beat down by another knight. He pulled the green-eyed knight off him. Steele had realized what was going on and gazed down the knight with an almost lifeless stare, while one handing his greatsword. "This is the call of death. The kingdom will soon be buried back into where it emerged from and handed back to its rightful owners, the Ashen Empire." The green-eyed knight's breath trembled as he barely managed to utter out the sentence. Huge clouds of smoke towers over the capital. Crowds of knights, civilians screaming, trying to get in safety or try to rescue the injured. Dreadnought airships blasting their horn over the city square, and the perpetrator gotten away with it. Perseus stood on the city wall. He took off his set of armor and gazed upon the apocalypse he had caused. He put his hood back on and viewed his trusty weapon. "Now I am become death." These are the biggest events which are currently going on in the lore. Now, who's Auguste? We know that Perseus is the second in command of the Coat of Ashes, but it wasn't always like this. In the chapter The Threshold and through it, we find out that Steel and Perseus were friends, close friends, and something between them happened. Before Perseus and Steel clashed against each other, Perseus clenched his gauntlet and zombies emerged from the ground, encased in knight armor, with spikes, with shields, and they formed a wall to protect Perseus. Steel, of course, didn't really care. He knew how his soldiers fight, so he had not a real problem to defeat them. In the end, 15 Ashen Knights were lying motionless on the ground. Then Perseus himself engaged with Steel. After some hits with his gauntlet, Perseus props his arm against Steel's helmet, and we find us in a flashback, where we find out that Steel lost a lot of men in a cold winter against the Ashen army, and his friend Perseus Auguste. After the flashback, Steel tries to hit Perseus with his sword directly into his body, but Perseus just turns into ash. And someone noticed the fight and watched from afar. Azrael. He served directly under Steel as a great knight, and he is kind of the inventor of the Elytra. He fought over 700 battles, is a proud believer of God, has a divine cross on his cape, and mastered the arts of spirit sorcery, aka, I think, the spirit orb. He comes up to Steel, says to Steel, hey, the people need a new Steel, I will be the new Steel. Steel after that, of course, said, you need to prove yourself worthy of that. After Steel said that, Azrael said, he will see us again, and flew off. That's a new, interesting character insert. As I already said, Azrael spied on Steel in his darkest hours. As the fight against Perseus and Steel ended, he dragged the bodies of the dead Ash soldiers to his hideout to find out clues. And he finds clues. He finds, you could say, coordinations or a map on the armor of the dead Ashen soldiers. So he flies there, and who does he found? He finds Perseus, and Perseus didn't expect him at all. For the first time, Perseus felt scared, and he exclaimed to Azrael that he waited for Steel so they both could talk. Azrael then stepped forward, raised both of his glistering blades, and Perseus, backing off, said, it's just for the greater good. Azrael didn't bought that. He said, you're playing death, you're just selfish, that he mocks the fate, and Azrael is the one who needs to correct that. Azrael then went to Perseus, struck him down. Perseus then said to Azrael, you're not God, you're just another killer, like me. And Perseus finds out that Azrael just wants to impress Steel. Azrael says Steel has the space because he earned it, but someone else need to take his space one day, so it will be me. And with that, Azrael just smites him with the power of a spirit orb, and Perseus is just not dead. He just sinks motionless into the ground, which is weird. With that, we come now to the Fury section. The game Zombies vs. Humans is implemented in the lore. How? The little island is a part, or is, archipelago. There, where KSS Colossus were shut down. We, the player, we are conscripted or we volunteered to fight against the Ash. 99% of us are from the new Robloxian order. The 1% are from the contingents. Well, not contingents itself, contingent nomads. Contingent nomads abandoned the contingents and tried to return to the order. That's the people who use the obsidian armor and the hammer. The cases Colossus, how did it get shut down so fast with one single shot? Real easy to explain. The cases Colossus constantly bombarded the archipelago. Cause of the bombardment, the Gravemind eventually adapted to the crewmen themselves, and because of that, they knew the exact layout of the case's Colossus, and then struck the case of Colossus that bad. How was the explosion so drastic, so disastrous? Normal blimps are full of hydrogen air, because hydrogen air is lighter than air itself and lighter than helium. But no. It's not the reason why. The blimps are not fueled with hydrogen air or helium, etc., etc. Now, stay with me, people, okay? We already have radios in the medieval timeline, okay? Let that sink in, and now listen to me. Very roughly said, the blimps have a reactor in them which functions very similar to a modern nuclear reactor. This reactor is fueled by a suspendium core, a pink crystal-like mineral which produces heat and suspendium gas, which is kinda a form of helium. This crystal comes from flying islands which are chained together so they don't fly away. And yes, the Catus Colossus was at one point a flying Chernobyl. That's the Chernobyl situation for the Robloxian Order. Now, why did the Robloxian Empire switch its name to Robloxian Order? In February of 755, King Kelton Grey enacted the martial law. Towns repurposed to strongholds, cities into citadels, trade routes have been strengthened by increased military patrols, and the citizens don't really like that. They hated that. The once proud civilians who loved this empire now don't like it anymore. I of course have more theories and more lore, but I'm just giving out the informations the game and the information of the lore book provides. I will end it here. Thanks for watching, and thanks for staying with me through this whole journey. I never thought that it would take over 30 minutes to make this video. Thank you for listening and watching, and we will see us again in the future. Bye!